Hey everybody, and welcome to CV Horror Productions. My name's Nick,
My name is Dylan.
and we are going to review Halloween 2018.
Yep, the big one.
The newest one, and lots of throwbacks in this one.
Yeah, the third Halloween movie that's just called Halloween.
What was the second one? Was it?
Rob Zombie.
Oh, of course. And then Halloween 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of fan service in this one, so we have quite a bit to discuss. So sit back and enjoy the ride. I'm going to let Dylan kick it off. Let's go over just some basics.
Okay, Halloween 2018 was released on October 19th, which is Mike Myers' birthday, actually.
That's right, it is.
Yep. Directed by David Gordon Green, written by Jeff Fradley, Danny McBride, and also David Gordon Green. Music, John Carpenter reprises his role as the composer, along with his son Cody Carpenter and friend Daniel Davies. Cinematographer was Michael Simmons, who I looked up, and he doesn't have he has a good catalog of movies, but nothing that really stands out, or at least for me. I haven't seen most of his movies. So
Do you recall any of them that you saw?
No, absolutely not. This one, so this film has a couple production companies behind it. Blumhouse, obviously, that's the big one.
Because they do everything now.
They do everything now, all horror related. Blumhouse, and they do good horror.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see that. And then we're accompanied by Miramax.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other big one. That's the one. That's the one big oof,
Yeah, and it was Dimension for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but Dimension fell off. So it looks like there was supposed to be a Halloween 3D set in 2012 when they were going to make it. This is when Dimension had the rights, and they couldn't get a director, kind of just dropped off. They were going to do a continuation of the Rob Zombie films, and that didn't work either. In 2015, they wanted to. They had Akkad on board. Now, of course, not the original. Was it Mustafa Akkad?
Mustafa Akkad.
Yeah, I'm sure it was his son running the industry. Is it Trancas?
Trancas International Films. They're the production company who has owned Halloween since the third movie.
Yeah. And they were going to try to do a recalibration of the whole film series called Halloween Returns that was going to take place after 1 and 2. That didn't work either. So they kept trying to make another film, and it didn't work. Dimension lost the rights to it because it took them too long.
Yeah.
Miramax picked right back up. So, yeah, Miramax and the Trancas International also produces. I saw that Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter were both as executive producers on this as well.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of cool.
But it's interesting because Miramax has not made a movie since 2016.
Oh, I didn't see that. What was the last movie they made?
I don't remember what the last movie.
It's just
they
been
made.
a while.
It's just been a while because they've been going under those attacks,
Oh, right.
Because this is the Weinstein Company.
Yeah.
It's owned by the Weinstein Company.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. Yep.
So this is their second movie this year, I think, and they did a little independent movie a couple months ago, and now this is their first big one, back in it.
You said something funny to me yesterday when we were talking about this. You said it's the 40th anniversary, so why don't they just call it H40 instead of H20?
Yeah.
H40.
H40.
I think they should retitle it like that. But it is his 40th anniversary. That's really neat.
Yeah. Actually, today, the day we're recording it, is when the original was released 40 years ago.
The 25th, huh?
Yep,
that's right. So I'm showing Halloween had a budget of around $10 million.
Yeah, it had about $10 million, and as of today, it's at $90 million domestic and $106 worldwide.
Which is a lot. That's crazy. There are very few movies who actually hit the 100 million mark each year, and to have this be one of them really talks about its fan base.
Yeah. Is there even another horror movie that has hit 100 this year besides A Quiet Place?
I don't think so. Hereditary didn't do as well as
No.
I personally thought it was gonna do. I was really excited for that movie too.
Yeah, and A Quiet Place was like kind of out of nowhere too.
Yeah, and I really like that movie. It did really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at how inflation had adjusted some of these. So right now, as it stands, this 2018 Halloween has made the most out of all of the Halloweens. But if you adjust for inflation, the original Halloween nets around 183 million. So
Wow.
overall, that one seems like it had the most impact. But it is just great to have something like this in this type of industry, do so well.
Yeah.
A few other things I want to touch on that you talked about with David Gordon Green. So I looked up all of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite movie that he's done is a comedy called Pineapple Express.
Yeah. He doesn't have like any horror movies.
No, I think this was his first horror movie. He had done a lot of comedies and some independent flicks with that too. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is that I know that him and the co-collaborator Danny McBride, they went over like 80 scripts before they wanted they want to present this idea to Carpenter.
Yeah.
That was their goal. We get the Godfather approval, everything's good. So they got it together. They went and pitched it to him, and he was totally on board. He was on board and he wanted to stay as composer, executive producer, creative consultant, just wanted to be a complete part of it. When they shot it, they were doing 25 days worth of production, and they were doing rewrites every single Saturday.
Dang.
So there was a lot of collaboration between all of the actors and the crew and everybody and actors. There was just a lot of collaboration on set, which I thought was cool. They really promoted all the actors to improvise all of their roles, and one of them, I'll bring him up later, and I'm not saying his name now, but just because the name's difficult to pronounce.
Okay.
But the kid, that's in it, that gets babysat.
Yeah.
He is hilarious.
He is.
And I think all of his lines are improvised. I read somewhere that I think they were. I also read that David Gordon Green wanted to remake Suspiria.
Yeah.
Which I thought he wanted to do that before Halloween. That was like his original idea, and it just fell through. He couldn't get the backing with it. But he was also inspired by the music and the color, which inspired Halloween the original. Inspired John Carpenter.
Yeah.
So I like how they played off of that a little bit. And coincidentally enough, I saw an ad yesterday that Suspiria hits limited theaters in LA tomorrow. So there's a remake coming out that just hits the theaters tomorrow, which is the 26th, by the way. We're recording this on the 25th. Today's the 25th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of blends together sometimes. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was that Richard Wright was the production designer, and he was a huge fan of the whole Halloween series. In fact, David Gordon Green said that he wasn't nearly as much of a fan as Wright was, and Wright would try to throw in like little throwback things all over the place. So like, as we'll talk about, like there's a hat that's in the background. I'm sure that has to do with him.
Yeah, probably.
So lots of little things that I think he had a part of, and everybody was completely on board with, which is pretty neat. They also made a huge choice in this film. They could have started after the first one or the second one or wherever, and they debated for a while. They originally decided to start right after the second one, and that didn't work because they wanted Michael to be this unstoppable force of nature.
Yeah.
They wanted his murders to be random. They thought that was more terrifying, which I think it really does make it more terrifying, and we discussed that in the last podcast. So they decided to go with coming directly off of the first one and leaving Laurie being his sister completely out of it.
Yeah, and I think that also helped them get the approval from John Carpenter too, because he hates all the other Halloween movies, and he hasn't even seen all of them, actually.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, it's weird. His own, like, he created it, and he hasn't even seen all the movies for it.
Yeah, and I think this movie was like a good jumping point for him, because I got the feeling he almost detested a lot of like the remakes that kept coming out and all these things. And I think I read somewhere he said this is a good good jumping off point for me. I'm gonna get back into it. I'm gonna embrace this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a part of it, and it turned out really well. Jamie Lee Curtis came on board in September 2017, and the only other actress that I read that wanted to be a part of this that couldn't, because they really included a lot of people from the original, was Danielle Harris, and she was the daughter in 4 and 5, the little girl.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be a part of it. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough room in the casting for her to.
Which I think they still could have put her in somewhere.
she's like 40 now, I think.
Yeah, they have PJ Souls as a voice. They can have her. They can have her somewhere.
Put her somewhere.
Yeah.
So you want to go into some of the actors, I believe, and actresses?
Yep. I guess we'll segue now into the whole plot of the movie.
Okay, we could do it that way.
And so we have our main actors, most of them actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Lee Curtis coming back as Laurie Strode, of course. That's like the big appeal for the movie right now.
Right.
And then we have Judy Greer for Karen Strode, who is Laurie Strode's daughter. And then we have Andy Matichak. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not sure. She comes back as Allison Strode, who is Karen's daughter, who is Lauren's daughter, or Laurie's daughter. So we got a granddaughter situation. And then we have James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle, who both share the part as the Shape.
Yeah, I read somewhere, and I don't know where it was, but there was a comment that said that Tony Moran was a part of the Shape. He did something in this, and there was even a comment that said when he didn't have his mask on in this movie, it was Tony Moran. I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true either, because every time we saw him without his mask on, we didn't actually see his face.
No,
but it was very clearly like the same person.
Yeah. But I did see that Jude Courtney and Nick Castle didn't do a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I was surprised actually, because going into it, I had heard that he was in it and he was the Shape. He was going to be playing, but he's not actually the Shape the whole time.
No, I think Courtney played most of it.
Yeah,
and he's a stunt actor. He's done a lot of stuff, and Nick Castle looked at it as, I'm passing the Halloween torch on to you. So you did so good. This is now yours.
And I don't think Nick Castle is necessarily suited for the role of the Shape. It just so happened that he did so well.
Yeah.
in the first movie, because he never played him again after that.
No, and Courtney was obsessed with his movements in the first one.
Yeah.
So I heard that he watched the movie over and over again and tried to get down all of the little like rising off the ground and the way he walked and just everything. He did it perfectly.
Yeah, honestly, if you said that was Nick Castle the whole time, I would believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this movie comes out 40 years after the original, and the setting is 40 years after the original. So it picks right back up in real time.
Real time. This is how it actually happened.
Yep. It starts out with podcasters Aaron Corey and Dana Haynes.
Yep. They
go to Smith Grove Sanatorium, and we've been there quite a bit in the past movies. It does feel like it's kind of a hardcore sanitarium.
Yeah, they've changed a lot.
No, so when I'm used to sanitariums, at least thinking about them, I'm thinking about them as like a place that treats diseases or mental illness. This was like a lockdown facility, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, it was.
Beware of these people.
It's like an asylum that doesn't exist anymore, you know?
Yeah. But they have the dramatic mask reveal in this scene.
They do, which is
I think it's a little forced.
It is.
It's a lot of drama right up the way. One thing it does do is it shows us the mask. And the mask is really cool because it looks a lot like the original, but just aged really well.
Yeah, it does. The production design on the mask, it looks really good.
Right. And I did a little bit of research on this. I guess they spent a lot of time making the mask, and they spent a lot of research into what a mask would look like if it had aged 40 years. And that's what they came up with.
Props to them.
But the other thing that it does, that scene, is it gives us a dramatic spike that cuts right into the credits.
Yeah.
Which is when it first opened, when we were watching this, I was a little disappointed because I didn't see a jack-o'-lantern right away on opening, but it was there. And
It got us.
Yeah, it got us.
And this time, though, the pumpkin inflates.
It does.
And as opposed to it just being a regular pumpkin, it's coming back alive.
Yeah, it's like this decomposed thing that's revitalized, like the movie came back to life.
Like the movie and like Michael specifically.
Yeah. We get a new Dr. Loomis, Dr. Ranber.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about him a little bit later with some exciting twists. By the way, I think I should preface this here. Most of the movies that we cover are typically older. This is a new movie that just came out. There's going to be tons of spoilers, so if you're listening to this, please be aware we will ruin the entire movie.
Yeah, we're going to ruin it.
So, and I don't want to say that over and over again. Just please don't write us and tell us that we did you wrong. we're going to ruin the whole thing. In that scene, Michael doesn't speak. They're just trying to get him to speak. And that's a reoccurring thing throughout, well, actually most of the movies, but, well, all the movies he doesn't speak at all. But in this movie, they really make it apparent. They just want him to say something.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, which makes him even more frightening. That it's this thing that you is intelligent, that just has this driving, killing force that will not communicate with you in any way and has, like, zero compassion.
It's spooky.
It's very spooky. They bring up the barking dog in that scene. So we see barking dogs happen a lot in Halloween over and over again.
Yep, and it's Michael's trigger.
It is his trigger, and he didn't get triggered. Well, he kind of like looked a little bit to the side.
Yeah, he was interested.
He was, and we got to see. I don't know if I didn't mention this to you before, but I swear I thought I saw his eye like being just like a little weird. Like that was the eye he got stabbed in, his left eye when he looked over just a little bit to the left with the hanger. I thought that maybe it was a damaged eye, but
I mean that would make sense if he didn't get shot.
It would make sense, but he did not kill the dog.
No,
which
he didn't.
We're all happy with.
He stayed in his little box.
He stayed in the little box that everybody had. The little tape box that everybody has off. And then we, like you said, we go to the opening jack-o'-lantern scene, and we're introduced to Laurie again.
Yeah, Laurie, she's back.
She has a very Sarah O'Connor vibe to me.
Yep, that's what it is. And I honestly think that this Laurie is better than the H2O Laurie.
Yeah, the H2O Laurie is a recovering Laurie as far as I want to get my life back together.
Yeah.
I'm living a normal life. This Laurie is, I'm damaged from this trauma, and I'm going to kill this. I'm obsessed with this thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really fitting for Laurie in general. For them to make a movie and have her come back as a driving force to kill Michael, I think that was a choice that they had to make. I think it was smart.
Yes.
So we were introduced to Laurie, and then we go straight to Michael. The podcast people find Michael at the gas station.
Well, we haven't got introduced to the current Strodes.
Oh, right. So I'm gonna preface this as well. I have a horrible memory again, and we saw this movie once.
We did only seen it once.
I don't know this movie like the back of my hand. I tried to, do the best I can to take notes and retain everything. So
yeah,
Dylan's probably going to correct me quite a bit here. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, we are introduced to the new Strodes, Judy Greer, and that name again, Andy. Her name's Andy. But she's Allison, and she's the granddaughter. I don't think she's a bad character, but I don't know if she was necessary.
No, she's in Orange is the New Black. She's in one episode. I tried to find her in anything else, and I couldn't find her. But I think we should speak of her as Allison from now on.
Yeah, we're just going to call her Allison. I can't say her real name.
Is this the classroom scene already? Is that?
No, we're at their house right now.
They're introducing everybody.
Yeah, and they're setting up mouse traps. Which I guess, if you look at it in a way, it could symbolize later on how Laurie's house is like a mousetrap for Michael.
I mean, if anything, it definitely symbolizes like where the movie's going. Yeah, like Laurie's house is a it's just foreshadowing for what's
Yeah.
to come. I could see that.
Yeah, and then Ray, who's the father, he says an interesting line. He says he gets peanut butter on his penis, and you know, when I first watched it, I just thought maybe he said finger. He said peanut butter on his finger. I just misheard.
He said it like twice, didn't he?
He says penis once and then finger the second time.
Oh, finger the second
That's why I was like, oh, maybe he just said finger the first time. But he actually says penis, and it's like really weird. And I don't know. Ray is like the character who's supposed to have comedic relief, but it's really dumb, and I don't really care for it.
Yeah, I didn't really find him that. He's in a lot of movies, by the way.
He is?
Yeah, he's like kind of like the background comedic relief in a lot of movies. I think he's great in other movies. I just don't think it worked well here. I actually thought the character it was written, just the character, not the actor.
Mm-hmm.
The character was kind of throwaway. I don't feel like they really needed it, and it was kind of an homage that he paid later in his death to the original. Most of these throwbacks are to the original Halloween. There are some that are littered through with the other movies, but most of them are for the original. All right, where are we next?
So next, we're Allison is walking to school with her friends, Vicky and Dave, and it's very reminiscent of the first film. Same camera angles, you know, three friends walking instead of from school to school.
Yeah, and it has a different feel to it because in the first one you have Michael who's actually present.
Yeah.
And he's stalking, even though not all of the camera angles could be from his point of view because they're really out in the open.
Yeah.
You still feel like you're being stalked by somebody in that setting. And this one tries to recreate the same thing, even though we know Michael isn't anywhere near any of this stuff right now. But it's still a throwback to that original.
Yep, and this is the scene where they confirm that Michael is not Laurie's sister in this timeline.
Yeah, which again we talked about and is a huge deal. It really makes him all the more terrifying.
Yeah.
Where we go next?
After that, we're in the classroom. Allison sitting in the same spot that Laurie used to sit, and this is where PJ Souls comes in. You hear her voice as the teacher. That's it. You don't see her.
Yeah, and they're talking about fate in that classroom, which is the exact type of conversation. It's not word for word the exact conversation, but it's pretty close.
It is.
Of the original fate conversation they have. And then Allison looks to her left out the window, and what does she see?
Well, not Michael, but she sees Laurie instead. And this is the first of several role switches that we see in this movie, where Laurie takes the role that Michael had in the original instead. After we see Laurie out the window, Allison goes out to confront her, and it turns out that they've actually been talking for a while, and they want to, have some kind of relationship as grandmother and granddaughter. But the in-between, Allison's mother kind of prevents that because she thinks her mom is crazy, which, in the normal world, she probably would be, but that's not the normal world.
Is that where we get the flashback?
No, this
comes later.
Flashback is after the dinner scene.
Okay.
But I just wanted to talk about this conversation because I don't like it at all. And it feels like I'm watching a teenage drama on like CBS or something, I don't feel like the scene fits at all.
Well, the family relationships that are there really do fit into like a ABC or Family Channel afternoon special type thing. You have like the grandma who's had some trauma, the daughter who of the grandma who went through that with her and hates her for it. Yeah. And then the granddaughter who thinks that, wow, my mom just doesn't understand.
That's exactly.
Grandma has some awesome things. I want this relationship with her.
But yeah, I just hate this scene because it's so dramatic, and I think this is really where it shines, where you can tell the director had never directed a horror before, because you're basically watching a drama. If you just saw the scene, it'd be a drama.
Yeah, you could probably cut that scene out.
You probably could.
And it really wouldn't have done much to the overall plot.
It doesn't serve... It has no pivotal role. Allison basically just tells Laurie that she needs to stop, reminiscing on the past.
Yeah. In fact, even Allison and Laurie's relationship, I didn't think was really all that necessary, other than you wanted to have Allison struggle to the whole time to eventually at the end kind of get where Laurie is.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah,
I could see that as being a little throwaway.
But then after that, two things happen at the same time. We have the dinner scene with the Strode family, and then we have Michael Myers escaping at the same time. So we can talk about either one first.
I'm going to let you talk about the dinner scene because I don't have anything on it, and I don't really recall much that impacted me during this.
Okay,
scene.
That's because nothing is impactful in the scene. And because, I don't know, I guess the scene kind of grows the characters a little more, their relationships with each other, but it doesn't matter because half of them are throwaway characters anyways. Laurie shows up halfway through dinner, and this is after she's been drinking, and she was looking at the bus transport that Michael was on, making sure that he was on his way. But then she comes to dinner, she's all drunk, and she has a breakdown. And I guess that's kind of what that's the purpose of the scene, is to show how crazy Laurie is, how obsessed and how she feels.
Yeah.
But that's when we get the B movie flashback.
We also get the boyfriend.
Yeah, the boyfriend.
Too, which, in my opinion, is one of the most unnecessary characters in this movie.
Yeah. I have a little fun fact. Ray, who is the father, mentions that he used to hang out with Lonnie Elam, who is Cameron's dad.
Yep.
And Lonnie is Tommy Doyle's bully from the first movie.
Yeah.
So they already just right now told us how much of a jerk Cameron is going to be.
And I didn't pick up on that when I first watched it. I wish I would have, because I think when he became a jerk, it threw me off a little bit, because he had played this great boyfriend role at school and at the dinner, and he was all of a sudden when they're at the dance, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but all of a sudden when they're at the dance, he kind of becomes this jerk, and they blame it on, well, he drinks, and when he drinks, that's when he becomes a jerk.
Yeah. He's a character with problems.
He is. I don't feel like that was necessary to drive the plot. I wanted to have more of what we saw in the original. I wanted more stalking. I wanted more Michael Myers. I wanted more struggles with Allison and Laurie together. So I just didn't have enough of that.
I think you could leave Allison out of this movie and it would be fine, to be honest.
I could see that argument too.
Yeah.
But you need a way to continue the movie.
Of course.
Alright, where does that bring us now?
So we can talk a little bit about the B-movie flashback.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Ugh. Disgusting. That, I don't know. I haven't heard anybody else talk about this. This is like the same thing that we had discovered in the first movie with the what's her name, Lindsay line. This is like the same thing. Nobody's talking about this awful B movie flashback that Karen has, who is Allison's mother.
I mean, who doesn't love a montage, bro?
Yeah, that's what it is. I felt like it was supposed to be in like the Disney Channel or something.
It's a montage with a girl shooting guns and finding out how to defend herself. But she hit like a punching bag and
yeah. And she's, the way she reads it, she's like a robot too. She's like, it's destroyed my life. I don't have any childhood. This is my past. I try to not think about it. Yeah,
I think that if the scene was more simple, I think if it was just hers, with just her character, instead of them having to show it visually, just her character just showing how this ruined her, That might have been more impactful for me personally.
Yeah. You know, all she has to do is talk about it without being a robot, and then have one tear come down. That's it. Perfect.
I don't know about the tear. You know, one thing it does do, though, is it sets the stage for how crazy Laurie's house is.
Yeah.
Because we get a little preview of that in that little baby montage.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think we need it.
I don't think we need it, but it brings us there.
So then Michael, he escapes.
He does, and he escapes in a really dramatic way, which is very fitting. So, which Halloween was it? Was it the fourth one where he escapes in the ambulance?
Yes.
This completely mirrors that. So in the fourth one, he's in an ambulance getting transferred, just like he's getting transferred in this one in this bus. This high security bus with all these other dangerous people on it, who, by the way, only went to check their email and wandered about. Yeah. All of these really dangerous people afterwards. But the ambulance, he attacks the person in the ambulance gets flipped over in the fourth movie. In this one, you don't see what happens, but there's the bus that's flipped over.
Yes.
And all the inmates are roaming around, which is
exact same scene as in the first movie.
And it worked well. I think it's creepy. It's perfect.
I think it did too. And there are a couple of theories roaming around right now on how the bus crashed. And
I want to hear these. I haven't heard them.
Okay, so the first theory is obvious. You know, Michael just went crazy.
I bet you I can guess one. I'm going to let you say it, though.
Michael just went crazy, did his thing. Mm-hmm. Very simple. Second theory is that Dr. Sartain...
yep, that's it.
Dr. Sartain, he was the one who actually made the bus crash.
Of course he did.
Which, I don't know if that would make sense. It would make sense on a level, and it wouldn't make sense on a level. Because if he did make the bus crash, then why did Michael still kill him in the car later on in the movie? Also, why did Michael not kill him during the bus crash?
I mean, he didn't kill any of the other inmates.
He didn't kill Who cares about inmates, dude? He killed all the cops.
He did. And I guess his psychiatrist is technically an authority figure in his life. He probably would have killed him.
He would have killed Loomis.
He would have killed Loomis, absolutely.
Maybe they planned it together.
Maybe.
The third theory, is that Laurie made it crash.
Was she there?
Well, here's how the timeline goes in the movie.
Okay.
She's sitting in her car drinking,
mm-hmm.
and she has a little kind of weird dream thing of Michael walking towards her. We don't know anything about it. It was just a weird dream thing that she had while she was drinking. And then it cuts from there and she's at dinner. And then it cuts back and the bus has crashed. So there is a little bit of time there where she could have crashed the bus.
Or if she's kind of like Carrie and she has supernatural powers now, she briefly used them in that one instance and never again.
Yeah, it was an accident.
Of course.
But yeah, people are saying that maybe she did because later on she says she's wanted him to get out so she can kill him. Mm-hmm. Perfect opportunity for her to do that and not seem suspicious.
Yeah, there's this push and pull with Laurie where she wants to defend, she wants to secure herself away from him and isolate herself, but she also wants to be the one to kill him. Mm-hmm. So she kind of goes back and forth a little bit in her character, and it's completely natural. I'm fine with it. But her character goes back and forth with those two, whether she wants to protect herself, her family, whether she wants to kill Michael. It goes back.
Yeah, it's actually a good character. It's one of the good characters in this movie.
Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis was excited to reprise her role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to get back on after.
No, after she got duped in H2O.
Yeah, well, no, the one after she died at the very beginning, didn't she? Which
did.
one was that?
Resurrection.
She died at the That was kind of a letdown for me. I thought she was going to be in more of the movie. Was that the one with Tyra Banks?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And
Busta
Rhymes.
Yep.
We'll get to that one later. Anyways, so a father and a son pull up in a truck, and they see the inmates there. Mm-hmm. And there's a song playing on the radio.
Yeah.
The song has lyrics, "I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us." This is a song that doesn't actually exist that we can listen to.
Yeah, not real.
It was something that was Lori in the original Halloween. She sung when she was walking around. It was right after, I believe, she dropped off the keys at the Myers house, and the script called for her to sing like a happy tune. And her and Deborah Hill kind of came up with this together.
Yeah, they didn't have the budget to have another song
Right.
in the movie, so they just made one.
So it's in this movie, and it's playing on the radio, which is pretty neat. And then you see the whole scene where the kid goes out. The dad goes out first, of course. And, the kid's left by himself. And
he does end up dying, and in a very cliche way.
Exactly how Annie died. Which is kind of another throwback in my regard.
Yeah.
Just from the backseat, Michael kills this kid. And it's really fitting for him. It's one of his typical kills.
I don't think there's a single kill in this movie that we haven't seen Michael do.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it. You could be right.
I think there's one kill where he pushed the guards, or not the guard, the at the gas station, which is actually the next scene.
What about Oscar, who's hanging from the gate?
I guess, but he stabs him, and then I kind of just assume that Oscar kind of slid down.
Oh, he might have. You could be correct, yeah.
I don't know, though.
All right, so now we go to the gas station.
Now we go to the gas station. There is a cemetery scene.
Oh, yeah.
Beforehand, nothing happens.
No, but it is a throwback where we see Judith Meyer's gravestone.
Yeah, that's the only, yeah.
It is probably the only reason why it's there. Also, the podcasters are doing their document. Yeah. They're doing a documentary, and
they have to have something to do.
Well, I mean, I would have gone to the gravestone if I was them.
It does make sense, but what doesn't make sense is how they're traveling around. They go to the sanitarium.
Yeah.
Then they go to Lori, and then they go to the cemetery, and next thing they're at the gas station. So are they leaving?
Yeah, well, I don't really know exactly where that gas station is, but the gas station, yeah, I don't really know.
It would have to be between, I assume, honestly, I just assume this is the same gas station that we've seen in the fourth movie.
Okay.
It's just,
I like that. I like it being the same gas station.
Yeah, it's in between Haddonfield and the sanitarium.
Sure. There's only one.
There's only one.
Yeah, you only need one.
100 miles.
All right, so what happens in the gas station that's so important?
Gas station, Michael gets his mask. I don't know.
I think there's a couple things that happen.
There are
he
a
gets
couple
his
of cool
jumpsuit.
scenes. His jumpsuit.
He gets his mask, and he kills the podcasters in the bathroom, which to me kind of resembled H2O when he went into the bathroom.
It's exactly like H2O, except he doesn't kill anyone in H2O.
He doesn't. He just takes. He takes the purse?
He takes the purse and then steals their car.
Steals the car, but leaves the baby. Right? There's a baby outside in the crib. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. Yes, maybe. I thought she was. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll
either.
rewatch it.
Yeah, eventually. It's been a little bit since we've seen it. Anyways, so I think that's all the throw. We get to see someone find a dead body at the gas station.
You know, I don't think the scene is bad at all. I don't know. The podcasters kind of just seem like characters that are only there so that he can get his mask.
Yeah, that and to have a couple throwbacks.
Yeah, just for the sense of having a throwback.
Yeah. Because once they're dead, you didn't need them.
Yeah, I will say though that Aaron, the podcaster, I think his death is cool. You know, the beatdown. I think that's fun.
Yeah, and I liked how they had like kind of that terrifying scene where the other podcaster, what's her name, Dana, when she's kind of crawling underneath the stalls, and he's grabbing for her. That's something that you see in a lot of horror flicks these days, where someone's getting away and you think that you're safe and there's no way out.
Yeah,
you're just you're prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah, which, you know, honestly though, I was a little mad because I thought she could have kind of helped. She was kind of just sitting in the stall while, you know, her friend was getting beat down. She could have at least ran away and possibly survived.
Maybe.
The door was like right there to her right. She just had to open the stall door and run.
She was terrified. The next thing I have on here is Michael starting his killing spree. So I don't know what's in between that. I can't remember.
No, that's it.
Okay.
He arrives to Haddonfield, and
he could drive.
He can drive.
Well, yeah, we've established that already.
Of course.
He's a great driver.
It's only been another 40 years.
And he's only been in the backseat to more hearings.
Yeah.
Because he's going to, he was originally being transferred to a high security facility in this movie. Whereas in the original, he was being transferred. He wasn't being transferred. He was going to a hearing to see if he was going to be tried to be kept in prison.
Why would you keep this guy for 40 years? He hasn't said anything.
He has been at the sanitarium for 40 years.
Yeah.
After he committed more crimes.
Yeah.
And originally they were going to send him to prison for one crime.
Yeah.
It is a good question of why he's been at the sanitarium the whole time.
Whatever.
It was a really cool looking scene at the beginning where the checkerboard layout, and you can only get so close to him. I could see a lot of tension. It just looked cool.
It looked cool. That was
So he's on his killing spree.
Yeah, he replicates like straight ripped from Halloween 2. When he shows up to Haddonfield, 2 kids run into him.
One of them's in a pirate costume, just like Halloween 2.
Mm-hmm, yep. And they also have a boombox in 2018.
I like it.
And then he directly goes into the garage, grabs a hammer, and he kills the lady in the pink robe.
And he gets a knife from there after he kills her with the hammer.
The chef's knife.
Yeah, and the lady with the pink robe is directly from Halloween 2.
Yeah, this kills directly from Halloween 2. And so is the next one where he walks outside, and then her next door neighbor is calling the cops or something because she heard a disturbance. And so what he does, he just walks around back and does the same thing and just straight up kills her.
Yeah, but this is what they wanted. So I read that when they wrote this, they wanted to have this random killing spree, which is another reason.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe the primary reason why they decided to leave Laurie being his sister out of it, because how crazy is that just to have somebody blindly just walking through house to house and just killing everybody house to house? That
is scary. And it's out in the middle of, everyone's outside.
Yeah.
Like, he's just blends in.
Yeah, he
Nobody notices.
The lady in the pink robe, Miss Elrond?
Yeah, Miss Elrond.
Mr. Elrond gets a call out by Oscar later.
Oh yes, he does.
I don't know. That must have been the same house. Maybe he went back to that house or something like that. I'm not really sure where that worked
I wonder then if the lady in this movie isn't actually Elrond then.
Maybe.
Because they have the lights in their backyard.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And regardless, there's another link there.
Yeah, there is another link.
There is a throwback from your favorite Halloween movie in here too.
Yep, the third one. It's we see the silver shamrock masks. We see all 3 of them on kids, and they look just as ridiculous as they do in the original. Little kids bobbing around with them.
I think they look great, but it's probably only because I do like the third one a lot, just how ridiculous it is as a whole. There's another thing that happens inside of his killing spree. He doesn't kill a baby.
He does not kill the baby.
So what I read was, originally, that scene didn't have a baby in it.
Yeah.
It was the lady in the house, and she had a husband that was sleeping on the couch. And that actor who played the husband either wasn't able to come or didn't show. So they didn't have somebody to play the husband. But for some reason they had a crib and a baby. So they put that there the day of the shooting. And as they were filming it, they were they didn't know what to do. This is an ethical decision that Michael has to come up with. Is he going to kill this baby or not? Because he's had this killing spree. And it would make sense either way.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing that they decided to do when they were filming that, is to have him not do that and make that his ethical decision.
Yeah, I never once thought that he would kill it.
Well, they liked the tension. They wanted the audience to think it was a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another reason why they kept it in, because that is even more disturbing.
Yeah.
And they wanted the audience to get inside his head as far as that goes. But I want to say, and I could be wrong, but I want to say he's also, he's had situations in the past where he hasn't killed kids. He's had a choice and he hasn't killed kids.
Yeah.
In the previous movies.
Except that one time where he's like purposely chasing down a little girl.
Is that yeah? Yeah, that's a little different. we'll get to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Jason. Jason doesn't kill kids.
Jason Voorhees does not kill kids.
Which is a tragedy that I happen to watch a lot of these right after I watched a lot of Friday the 13th movies, so some of it blends in just a little bit. That's all I have for his killing spree. The next thing that I have is we go to Julian's house with Vicky.
Yep, Julian's house with Vicky. Julian he's like the best. He's the best kid in the movie.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try to say his name just because I want to
go for
be
it.
a horrible person.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm really sorry, actor who played Julian. Jibrail Nantambu. That's possibly. I'm sure I butchered your name. Most of what he said was improvised. He was great. He was one of the he was the comic relief that we needed in this movie. That was
the comic relief we needed, and Ray was not. Ray was not what we needed.
No, but Julian's watching a show.
Mm-hmm.
He is watching. I'm sorry. It was something that looked like the Forbidden Planet. Similar. That was in the first movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly like it. The show is actually called Voyagers with an exclamation point. It was a TV show, not a movie. But I can't help but think that they chose that show because it resembled what's Doyle. Tommy Doyle was watching in the first one.
Yeah, in 2018. You know, do you think a little kid would be watching something like that? I don't know.
In Halloween, they play lots of throwbacks, that stuff on holidays. Like even on Christmas, they play a lot of old Christmas movies and stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm gonna say I'll give it to him. Fine by me.
I'm gonna say they just did it for the throwback.
Probably. But they had another throwback in Julian's house. They have a bunch of sheets that are hanging up, drying outside.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what happened in the first one. And I don't know when this comes up. I wanted to mention this too. When we have I think he's the sheriff, the guy with the cowboy hat.
What?
The guy with the cowboy hat, not
Lynch?
Hawkins. Is his name Lynch?
I think his name is Lynch.
He mentions the original murders were called the Babysitter Murders.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because that was the original title of the film, the 78 film that didn't make it.
Right, because you're not going to refer to a murder spree as Halloween.
Right. So Vicky is babysitting Julian.
Yeah.
Vicky's played by Virginia Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
She plays in Marvel's Runaways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've honestly never seen it.
Me either.
But I'm kind of intrigued.
I don't care.
You're not going to get in that whole Marvel first leash? Yeah, okay. So we have Vicky's there babysitting. They have a cool, playful interaction with each other.
It's like arguably the best interaction in the whole movie.
Yeah, it seems genuine. Yeah. That's why I liked it.
Yeah.
It might be some of the best writing in the movie. And Vicky's boyfriend comes over.
Yeah, it's basically what Linda and Dave did. Bobby. Who's Dave? Dave is the one right now.
Yes, Dave. Dave is Vicky's boyfriend.
Bobby.
Easy to get the names confused because it's the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens to Dave?
Dave gets Dave gets the Bobby treatment. We don't see it though. We don't see it.
It's seen when Vicky runs downstairs.
Yeah.
But Vicky also gets a death that we're familiar with ish. Well, she dies, but we get
It's a combination of what we've seen.
With no glasses.
Her body's found with a cloth over her as if she's a ghost.
Yeah, which is another throwback to the first.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, honestly. I think Vicky would have made a better final girl than Allison.
Yeah, I don't know if we had to pin a final girl in this movie. I don't know who it would be. I guess it could be Laurie again.
Yeah.
She makes the most sense in my mind. Allison doesn't really do enough, nor do I think she has the qualities to be a final girl. Maybe in the next movie, but
yeah.
I don't think she's quite there. The daughter, is it Karen?
Karen.
She doesn't really play a prominent enough role in the movie.
No, she doesn't do anything.
I would assume Laurie keeps that title.
Yeah, probably. Laurie probably keeps it.
Which is fitting because this is her revenge movie.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people were disappointed in the fact that we still had like the whole teenage drama thing going on, even though it was supposed to be a revenge movie. Because there's like a fine line in this movie where you have the Laurie versus Michael scenes and the Michael versus regular teens scenes. And I think a lot of people were disappointed that there wasn't enough Laurie. They focused too much on these teens who were just gonna die anyways.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of those relationships are non-essential.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I wanted a little bit more Laurie and Michael.
Yeah.
Added to it. But I'm happy with what I got. I did want to say I did enjoy the movie. It was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, but it's easy to say it's a better movie than the rest of the Halloween movies because you have movies like Resurrection and Curse of Michael Myers, and so it's very easy to look at this movie and it looks like a god movie compared to the others.
Yeah. So at this point in the story, is this when Laurie comes back in? So the Hawkins finds Vicky under the sheet. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then Laurie comes in because she's hunting.
She's hunting him down. She knows.
And she shoots him in the shoulder. She sees Michael.
She
shoots
does.
him. And so that would be, if he originally got shot 6 or 7 times, up for debate. I guess if you're
in
going
this
off
version,
the
it's
original,
6.
the original movie.
Yeah.
So that's his 7th gunshot that he's ever had, and it looked like it took out a chunk of his shoulder.
This one actually looked like it did something.
Yeah, but he just keeps going.
He does,
and that's another aspect of his character. This is something that's so driven, such a force of nature that you can't compromise with.
Yeah.
And they're just emphasizing that he's unfazed.
Yeah, and this is when Laurie and Hawkins meet. And they already know each other off screen. They've known each other, but I think it's kind of stupid decision by them. They don't continue looking for him. They just saw him. He turned a corner. He can't be far, and the rest of the cops show up right then. They can just set up a perimeter.
They could have.
I don't understand.
But it's Haddonfield, and we like to perpetuate this urban myth and let it keep going.
Yeah.
We need more to fuel the fire, especially for Laurie. She needs to get angry.
Yeah.
And we need what everybody is expecting when they're watching this movie at this point. We need a way for Michael to get to Laurie's house.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. So we I think at this point or somewhere near here we come to Oscar. And Oscar
we have the little dance scene where
this is the whole dance thing.
Yeah, the whole dance.
That's right.
And Cameron turns into a jerk.
The alcoholic jerk.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have a little fight, and her phone gets thrown in the pudding.
Which we need because we need the obsessed Laurie.
Yeah.
Who, as soon as she hears about this, immediately calls Allison and says, warning her. We need her to be unreachable.
Yeah, we need her to not know that Michael is actually there.
Yeah, which is fine. It was a little dramatic throwing in the pudding, but
yeah.
He is drunk, and drunk people do dramatic things.
One other thing about the dance is that Allison and Cameron go as Bonnie and Clyde, except their roles are switched, which is another reference for Laurie and Michael.
Sure. Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
Both their roles are switched as well.
And I mentioned that Laurie called Allison to warn her. In that call, Laurie says, "Do as I say," and a lot of people are thinking that's a throwback to the original, where that's what she says to Tommy, Tommy and Lindsay. She says, "Do as I say," right as she's telling them to leave before Michael comes back and he gets shot.
And she also says that in H2O as well to her son in that timeline.
So those 4 words become pretty famous.
Yeah. So yeah, now she's out by herself, or not by herself actually, because she's followed by Oscar, and she's walking the streets with him.
And we have another teenage drama reveal.
Yep.
That Oscar is in love with Allison, or at least is
drunk enough to think so.
Yeah, he's into her. She's being nice to him. He's being nice to her, so they feel like they have a connection. Which, I mean, I've been there. I get it. It's fine. One of the things in the original Halloween, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, when they wrote it, they wanted to have like a typical teenager movie with this murderer overlaid on it and this urban legend.
Yeah.
So they wanted all these situations to be typical teen situations. Do you think that these situations that we were brought into in this 2018 movie are all these typical teen situations? I mean, I personally wouldn't know, because that's back like 20 years ago for me.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think that everything that happens to this love triangle are things that we've seen for years in TV and movies.
Okay.
Those are just things that we see all the time. They're not necessarily things that happen. I'm sure that they happen. You know what? I know that they happen. But they're not as dramatic as they are in the movies.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think it's not as common as the movies make them common.
So then we have Allison. She says, "I don't want anything to do with you, Oscar. I'm out." And so she leaves, and then Oscar, she jumps the fence. They jumped a fence and got into what Oscar said was Mr. Elrod's place, because he thought Michael was just standing in the background in the darkness, and he thought that was Mr. Elrod. He's like, "I'm gonna get out of your place as soon as I just hop this fence."
This is another creative scene in the movie with the lights.
Yeah.
The motion sensing lights.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Michael moves, and the lights turn on, and so he stops. And it's like red light, green light.
Yeah. There's another movie, and I'm really sorry that I don't remember the name of it. I wanted to say it was like, it's not The Haunting, but it's a movie with a girl who has a Polaroid camera, and there's something that's chasing her, and she keeps using the flash from the Polaroid camera to get a glimpse of everything as it's approaching her, and it had that type of effect.
Hold on, is that Blair Witch?
I think they used it in Blair Witch too. The movie I'm speaking of is not.
Okay.
It's a movie that I want on our list because I really did enjoy. The movie's almost like a whole long shot. I'm getting off on a big tangent here because we're not talking about Halloween. I'll figure out that movie and we'll rewatch it.
But actually, the whole lights thing is inspired by Lights Out, which was a horror short. It's created in 2012-ish, I think, where it was very low production. Obviously, it was short. And it's just a girl who she has the lights on, and she's closing up shop, and she turns the lights off, and something's there, and she turns the lights on, and it's gone. And that simple idea spawned a whole movie called Lights Out that was released in like 2014, I think. Wow. And ever since then, this is almost becoming a cliche with the whole lights thing. Horror movies have picked that up, where it's like back in when Halloween was created, all those kills have been brought into now Halloween's taking from other movies as well.
I think that's a good time as any to have a brief break. And when we come back, we'll finish up where Allison left off, get into the ending scene, and then I have a few more facts and ideas for you.
Yep.
We're back, and we're talking about Allison. Allison, at this point, finds Oscar dead and is running around trying to find refuge at some neighboring house. And this was a direct correlation to the original, where Laurie's running around all these houses and trying to find refuge there too. Except the the biggest contrast is Allison actually finds somebody who will take her
Yeah.
in. Nobody just turns off the lights
No,
for her and runs
looks
away.
out and turns the lights off.
So that again, another toss back to the original.
Yep, and while she's in refuge, Lori and Karen and Ray and Hawkins and Sartain are all at Lori's house right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so they send Hawkins and Sartain to go and get Allison.
Yep. And they find her, and we learn a little bit of history about Hawkins.
Yep.
We learned, I don't know if it was here or somewhere a little bit earlier, but we learned he was the policeman who did not stop Loomis from killing, or who stopped Loomis from killing Michael.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of story there that they never really explain in full detail. So what we assume is that that after Michael disappeared, Loomis went running after him and tried to kill him. And Hawkins was following them or chasing after him as well. And Loomis drew a gun to kill him.
Right.
And Hawkins stopped him. And they captured Michael Myers at that point.
Mm-hmm.
How they captured him, I'm not really sure.
Never said anywhere.
It's not a huge deal. But we learned there's a little bit more history between him and between Hawkins and Michael that they explain.
But I will say though, it kind of does take away from the shock factor of the original movie at the ending, because at that point it's perfectly set up to where he's gone, you'll never find him, and he could be anywhere.
Sure.
But then you come into this movie and they don't even talk about it. They're just like, yeah, we caught him.
That's true. So we get probably one of I think this made both of us laugh harder than anything else that we saw in this movie. But so they find Allison, Hawkins, and Sartain, and then they're driving in the car, and they see Michael Myers, and Hawkins decides, not today, I'm going to take you out. And Sartain's like, don't do it, I don't want you to run him over, but Hawkins decides to do it anyways, and this is...
Ben Tramer.
This is, in our opinion, a throwback to Ben Tramer in the second film.
Yeah.
Which is one of the funniest deaths that we have, where Ben Tramer, who is Laurie Strode's original crush in the first one, in the Halloween 2, he gets smacked with a car and blows up.
He blows up. Which foreshadows Michael's death.
It does foreshadow Michael's death. So in this one, Michael gets hit. Ben Tramer gets hit in the second one because he's wearing a Michael Myers mask. Yeah. So in this one, Michael Myers gets hit and thrown off and knocked unconscious.
Right. And this is where the big twist comes in.
Oh my goodness.
The turning point of the movie changes everything. Dr. Sartain, when Hawkins goes up to Michael, he's like, I'm gonna kill him right now. And he pulls his gun out. He's like, about to shoot him. Dr. Sartain takes out his little pen, and a knife comes out of it, and he stabs him in the neck a bunch of times, and Hawkins falls and dies.
I don't know if you've heard this or you read it, but there was some rumors. You know the symbol, the rune that's in? I think somebody said that it was engraved on the knife somewhere or on the pen.
Not surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, though I don't think that has anything to do with, like, he's not part of that society.
No, yeah, that's what it is, dude. The cult is coming back.
I hope not. And this is only his betrayal. Yeah. Is only briefly alluded before that. He talks a little bit about how he wanted to be in Michael's head. He wants to know what it's like.
Yeah, he wants to know what it's like to feel nothing.
And he's obsessed with Michael, so I get that. I don't feel like it was really needed to have him do that.
The only reason for this is so that they can get Michael in the car and take him to Laurie's house.
Because Sartain wants Laurie and Michael to meet. Yeah. He wants that interaction.
Because the whole idea behind it is, does one monster create another monster? Yeah. And that's it. But it is a stupid twist.
I think they could have done without it. But again, I don't know how they would get him over to Laurie's house.
In my opinion, we don't need to go to Laurie's house.
Yeah, you could be right.
Yeah.
I liked all of the stuff that happened in Laurie's house, though.
I like it too. There's plenty of ways to get to the house, alright? There's like a really long path.
Yeah. So that's what he does. Sartain grabs Michael, who is unconscious on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and throws him into the car in the back seat.
In the back seat with Allison. And what kind of car is this? I don't know. I don't even know. It's like a van, kind of, but it has a gated back seat.
Yeah, it's some type of security police car or something like that. We also didn't mention Sartain puts on the mask.
Yeah, he does put on the mask, but just for a brief second.
He wants to know what it feels like. So he's... Is that the only time that someone's put on his mask before?
That little kid does in Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
And so does the boyfriend in that movie.
I'm gonna forget those movies right now. So that's a unique thing. Someone puts on his mask.
Yeah, it's unique.
So she's in the back of the car with unconscious Michael, and they're going to Laurie's house. And that is an intense scene. Having her trapped back there with him, at any moment he can wake up, and there's nothing that she could do about it.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, but then he ignores her.
Yeah, he does. He chooses to attack Sartain first, who's driving the car.
Yeah, and what does he do? He kicks the gate in, and he just knocks Sartain's face into the dashboard, and he's dead.
And then Allison runs out. But that whole scene where Allison's stuck in the back with Michael, that is something that's typical through... It's just a horror trope to have you're stuck in a situation where you know something's going to come back alive and you can't go anywhere to defend yourself.
Or it's also similar to when you knock the killer down and you have to walk over his body.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened in the first one.
Yeah.
When Laurie had to walk over the Shape, Nick Castle, whoever walked over the body to get away from him. I wrote down that it was exactly like that.
Yeah.
So I think that was a throwback in my mind too. So Allison runs to the woods.
Yeah, she goes to the woods. There's like a cop car, right? Like
the house is right there.
The house is right there. The cop car's parked in front. There's cops in the car, and they start driving down to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And she runs into the woods.
But when she runs into the woods, we get a scene where she is stuck in the... She comes out. She's scared because she's in the shooting range.
The shooting range, and there's a bunch of mannequins everywhere.
Yeah, which in my opinion was probably... It was a forced scare for the audience. Yeah. I thought it was completely unnecessary.
Yes.
Like, it's just a bunch of mannequins that have been shot. And though it is, like, a little terrifying and it's at night, I get that I would probably find it terrifying. Yeah. I don't think it was a needed scare that was in the movie.
I think that one of my theories is that for the second movie, they kind of allude to Allison being the next killer. Mm-hmm. This scene could just make her go a little more crazy after the whole situation she just got out of. Mm-hmm. She feels like she's stuck, surrounded by, I don't know, pale guys, right?
A bunch of shapes.
Yeah, a bunch of shapes.
And they do kind of show that a little bit when later at the very end, when Laurie's walking around with the gun, and she ends up in that room with a bunch of mannequins that were from her target practice.
Right.
And I think it's supposed to show that he blends in with that crowd.
Yeah. The shapes.
He's as emotional as one of those mannequins.
Right.
So maybe it's kind of exuding his personality.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he kills Sartain.
He does kill Sartain instantly.
Which is another point to just push into the audience to say, Michael is not this person that you can reason with. He's not somebody who's going to empathize with you at all. He doesn't care that you're on his side. Mm-hmm. It's only him. Right. And he's just this unmovable mover who's just constantly killing things.
Which is where continuity kicks in, and it's like, how did he survive the bus? And if he caused the bus, why did Michael kill him now?
Yeah. That's a good point.
It just doesn't make very much sense. I don't think it makes sense if he wasn't on the bus at all. They wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah. But
they put him on there.
Well, so now we're led to Laurie's house.
Yeah, Laurie's house. This is the climax of the movie. This is where Laurie and Michael actually face each other. We get a little bit of it when Laurie's tracking him down when Vicky was babysitting. Mm-hmm. But now we're in Laurie's domain.
And I really like the design of the house.
I do too. And it's very similar to the Doyle house.
Yeah. Yeah, the layout is really similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, except the secret basement.
Yeah. I mean, well, we don't know. It's secret.
That's true.
Could have been there.
But the house also has all of these wood paneling closets, which is a throwback to the Doyle house.
Yeah, and she's directly, shoots at one and opens it and whatnot.
Yeah. And so we're led to Laurie tries to hide her family. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, Ray was outside.
Ray's out.
He dies.
He dies. Forgot about him.
Yeah. But Laurie's keeping her family safe.
Yeah.
At least keeping Karen, just her and Karen.
Karen
for
is
now.
there right now. I don't exactly remember how Allison gets in.
Allison comes back to distract. Oh yeah, when Laurie falls off the balcony, Allison comes back and distracts. That's when she enters in and distracts Michael from investigating any further. And then he starts chasing her.
Yes, okay, I remember.
So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, though, I think.
Yeah, so at this point, Laurie is... she goes to the front door, and this is when Michael breaks through the glass. The only window in the whole house that's not protected is the one that Michael hits.
That's true. But she shoots she's getting strangled, and she uses her gun to shoot 2 of his fingers off on his left hand.
Yep.
Which is a change from he's in the previous films. He's been blown up, shot. He's been everything. And he hasn't had anything that's changed the structure of his body completely. Right. And he lost 2 digits on this one.
2 digits, yep.
One of the things that I was a little curious about was Laurie's the whole secret basement.
Right.
So they go in the secret basement, and it looks like there's a room that has all these preserves and jars.
Yeah.
And they could stay down there forever. But then they even shut it when they're getting guns and stuff. And then they must have reopened it, because in the next scene that they show them in the house proper, and they're in bedrooms, and I don't really know at what point why they didn't just take refuge inside of the basement, or they're back and forth between the two. I get, we talked about Laurie's personality. She wants to kill Michael.
Yeah.
It's her revenge story. So it's fitting that she's out there hunting him. Michael ends up getting inside of the house, and she doesn't know where he is, and she hunts him. She has a...
Yeah, this is, again, one of the better scenes in the movie, where she's hunting around with her shotgun, and she has a really unique way of checking the rooms. She'll go in the room, make sure it's clear, and then when she leaves, the gate comes down, and it for sure means that either Michael is stuck in that room, or he can't go back in there.
Yeah, which is really smart.
It is.
I liked how they navigated that scene.
Yeah. And she goes through a couple rooms, and then she ends up in the last room. And this is the room where the balcony is. This is the room where the mannequins are. And this is where the wooded paneled closet door is.
Yep.
And this is where we find Ray.
He's in that closet.
Yep, looking like Linda.
Linda had a funnier face on. But yeah. This is where we find Ray crammed in the top of the closet there.
Yep, and then once we discover him, she turns to the mannequins, and he just knocks one of them over, and he's behind it. The whole time he was hidden behind the mannequin.
But we get, they struggle. Laurie gets knocked off the balcony.
Yep.
And
another reversed roll right here.
Everybody saw it coming except for the people who've never seen the original.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I like the role reversals.
Laurie's gets knocked out off the balcony. Michael sees her there. And then he hears Allison come through the front door, so he turns, and then he turns back, and Laurie's gone. That's exactly what Michael did to Laurie.
Yeah, but think of it from Michael's point of view. Is he now a little scared? Because this is the point where Laurie... She's like, I mean business. I'm coming for you now. And I'm the ninja. You don't know where I am. So are we supposed to believe that Michael is a little concerned at this point?
I don't think so.
No. We know he's a really intelligent guy.
Yeah. I think his focus now is just, okay, she's gone. I'm just gonna go for her granddaughter now.
Yeah, well, that's how he gets distracted. Allison
Yeah.
comes in, what's going on? And then he starts attacking her. Or he's chasing her, finds her way down to the basement.
Yeah.
And that's where we get my second favorite hilarious scene in the movie. I don't know if it was intentionally hilarious, but that's where Karen goes and grabs her gun.
Yeah.
And her gun has her initials on it and a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And this reminded me immediately of, so in the movie The Natural, and there's also some lore prior to that movie that has like a kid who has a tree that's struck by lightning, and he makes a bat out of it, and it's a bat that can, like, he's like really good at hitting home runs and stuff. This bat, so it's this, and the lightning bolt was engraved on the wood of it. It looked like a shotgun or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of related it to that. This was her special gun that she had when she was a kid, and she's good with this thing.
And they closed the door. Another little continuity error, I guess, is because they have like a little garage door opener on the outside to open the hatch, but Michael decides to just kind of lift it open instead. Like he
does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was another thing when Lori was down there earlier, and Michael was walking around upstairs when he was in the house. She started shooting from the bottom up into the first floor. And I thought, well, you're giving away your position now.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know that there's a secret basement or anything.
Yeah, at this point, he can just knock through the floor.
Yeah.
If the shots are going through.
So, and now he knows that they're down there.
Yeah.
Which he didn't before. But that's prior to her hunting him and going around and locking all the doors and stuff.
But yeah, he lifts up the little island. It takes him a while, though. And this is actually a really interesting character choice as well. With Karen, I think this is the only moment in the movie where I actually liked her, because she actually tricks him. Yeah. Because she acts as if she's panicking, she doesn't know what to do, and that makes Michael come out, and then she takes her shot right there.
Yeah, I bought into that when I was watching it too. I was like, oh, you should. I didn't know she was playing with him. Yeah. And then it came out. I thought it was a fun surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then instantly, I think the shot looks kind of weird. As soon as he gets shot, which it looks like he gets shot in the head, or at least it grazes him or something. Yeah. Instantly, Lori comes out of the shadows, like Michael did in the original, where he fades in from out of the shadows. And she jumps on him, and she has a knife, I'm pretty sure, and she stabs him. Yeah,
because Allison picks up that knife. So she kicks him down the basement, because that's where his death trap is, and is in the basement. Secretly, he was supposed to be there all along. Yeah. And Allison and Karen, they climb over him and climb up the stairs as fast as they can. Of course, he grabs onto Karen. That's so sad. We knew somebody was going to get grabbed on by the ankles.
Of course.
And Karen decides to make the choice of joining the family and harming Michael, and grabs a knife that Lori had and stabs Michael. Sorry, Allison. Allison makes that choice.
Yes, Allison does that.
It stabs him, and Michael falls down, and they hit the switch, and the gates close, and you can't get out.
It was like blades.
It was. Went through. Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah. And then Lori lights the fuse and drops it down, and the house goes on fire, goes in a blaze. Yeah,
it was an elaborate setup that she had too. She had a lot of other like gas pipes with like heated like starters. And the whole place went ablaze, and this was I guess it's a frustration for me just in movies in general as far as plot choices. But in horror movies, I think it should get an exception. It should be okay. But in general, in a movie where Austin Powers made fun of this. So you don't put somebody in a situation where they're going to die and then just completely ignore everything. So we see this with Lori. So Lori puts Michael in a situation where she assumes that he's going to die and then just walks away. Yeah. And it's not something definite. Like, I would expect with her trauma that she's received that she's gonna go down there and cut his head off or something like that. Like, that's not at all what happens.
They did it better in H2O.
They did. But it is a horror movie. They do want a sequel. This is a franchise.
Yeah.
We can't kill Michael completely. And one thing they did do in this movie, they kind of diverted a little bit from the supernatural.
They did.
So Michael got hurt. He seems mortal. And so if they keep it on that route, then he can't die.
Right.
If they want to bring him back, since he's not supernatural, he can't die in that type of situation.
And we don't see him die.
Unless they do something crazy like they were working with the fourth and the fifth one where Allison then becomes the new Michael Myers. At least at the end of
It
one
does
of the
allude to it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if that was just a throwback to... I don't know.
Everything's a throwback.
There is a lot in this. So yeah, at the very end credits, we show Allison. We fixate the camera on the bloody knife that Allison's holding.
She's still holding it.
So people think maybe it has something to do with her now being evil, or is something to do with her possibly now being part of the family and somebody who, if Michael had a motive, is out to get. Which I like the idea that Michael has no motive. I like the idea that Laurie wants to kill Michael. Michael does not care. He just wants to kill people. He has no ties to Laurie whatsoever.
Right.
I like that idea.
Me too.
It's all her in her head. Well, not in her head, but her experiences, and he's detached from all of that. It makes him that much more dangerous.
It does.
I like that a lot.
There was a connection being made where possibly Allison could be evil now, because in the fourth movie, the little girl, I don't remember her name, but she...
It's like Jamie or something.
Jamie, it is Jamie, yes. Jamie comes in contact with Michael, and that's what allegedly turns her evil.
He touches her. She touches him, doesn't she?
Yeah, when they're in the back seat.
That's right.
So there's that little connection that people are making.
Did Allison touch Michael in this movie?
I don't know if they touched, but they're definitely right next to each other in the back seat, and they are close contact. I mean, I wouldn't be I can definitely see it happening.
Well, we'll find out. We probably will find out, because their first ambition with this movie is they want to record 2 movies.
Yep, that was the original plan.
And they didn't, because they're like, you know what? We don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, what if we get a Curse of Michael or something?
Let's just do one, and then if this one does well, we'll do another one.
Which means they are definitely going to do another one.
Yeah, probably. This one did amazing, so I'm sure they're going to do another one. In the credits, we hear Michael Myers breathing.
We hear him breathing.
Another out for them. They make another one. It seems natural. And the whole breathing and the movement happens a lot in this film, which is exactly what made the first one so. And
it's not in any of the other ones.
Not really. I think it's in the second one.
It might be a little bit, but nothing that I really noticed.
No, and that was one of the things that we mentioned in the last podcast, that Carpenter did a really good job of making these things seem like more real and in your face. And I think breathing and hearing sound movements and things like that, when you're following the killer, really puts you in that headspace. And the last thing I want to talk about with the movie before we get into music and cinematography is there is a tribute to Akkad in there in the credits, which you know more about this than I do. Yeah,
Mustafa Akkad was murdered in 2005 with his daughter. I don't remember where they were, but it was a terrorist attack and they were bombed. Not them specifically, it was in a public area. But yeah, unfortunately he did pass.
And if it wasn't for him and his support, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
His support year after year over all of the sequels, really.
Yeah, he funded like every single movie.
So, fitting tribute to him. He did a lot.
But the role is now passed down to his son, Malik Akkad, who did the 2 Rob Zombies, and he's also collaborated with his father on the previous movies as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, and he was part of the production for this movie as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's move on to music and cinematography. I don't have a tremendous amount because I think we already covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention, this was probably my biggest letdown of this movie. So I am a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, a huge Trent Reznor fan. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, about a year ago, came out with a Halloween remix, reversion of the Halloween theme. I was excited for it. I'm like, oh, this is what they're gonna throw in the new movie. Perfect. I thought they were gonna do the score for the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it was not in the movie at all.
No.
Of course, because Carpenter.
That's probably why, because Carpenter came back. And they're like, well, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah. Well, and but I do know that they recorded the song. They recorded it for Friday the 13th, and also kind of an homage to John Carpenter's anthology that was released on October 20th of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was there. It wasn't for the movie. I wasn't paying attention. I just got excited for it. I love like everything that Reznor and Atticus Ross do as far as scoring. It's amazing. I listened to that version today when I was driving home from work. Just because I like it so much.
I like it too.
But not to say John Carpenter isn't a great musician himself.
No, he is.
He developed these themes, and I even read a little bit about Trent Reznor. He had an interview where he was talking about the impact that Halloween had to him, and that Carpenter's music had to him. Kind of inspired some of these stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, in the music, composed by John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davies.
Yep.
And they had worked on stuff before this too.
Yeah, so this isn't their first rodeo.
Yeah.
They are common collaborators.
And yes, Cody Carpenter is his son. They did Lost Themes and Lost Themes 2.
Yeah, which I've listened to, and they're pretty good.
You like
They
them?
all sound like they are theme songs for horror movies that don't exist.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of it today as well, and what I got from it, I liked everything I listened to, with the exception of, I thought that the electric guitar was too prominent. I would have just taken that out and had everything else in it, and it would have been much better in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I think that type of almost 80s in-your-face electric guitar is too much. In fact, I saw a lot of Lost Themes 1 and 2 had it reminded me of like a little bit of Pink Floyd, a little bit of Alan Parsons. They had a lot of these old. One of the newer artists that I listen to is his name is Perturber, and he does like a lot of old kind of 80s synthesized horror. Right. And what Carpenter's doing reminds me a lot. I mean, what Perturber's doing is influenced by all of this stuff too.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fitting. The music in this film is a little bit more modern. They keep a lot of the same themes. They kind of have this almost rock edge.
They do kind of, yeah.
There is some like heavy, like in your face sounds that they throw in there, which I think works in like a jump scare situation.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of basically taking the original and making it modern. Yeah,
I agree. I think so too. I think I was just a little bit off put because I want to hear more Reznor and Ross. The cinematography,
they tried.
I think that they maintained a lot of throwbacks, so they had to have a lot of shots from the original. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was so there's a big difference between the original Halloween and Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Where Halloween 2, when they show Michael Myers, they show a lot of him in the center of the camera, whereas in the original Halloween he's kind of off center from the camera, is kind of over the shoulder, and that really puts you in that place that that Michael Myers is in. And they try to do that a lot with this film.
They do, especially when he first arrives at Haddonfield.
Yeah. And
they have that whole Halloween 2 kind of sequence. I think that they did a good job at doing that too, and I think that bringing back this steady cam was very smart of them.
Absolutely.
Because they did use that a lot as well. They also had a lot of stills. And one thing I will say, though, is that besides the part when they're walking home, not everything is in focus all the time. Which is something I kind of miss. I kind of miss being able to track down Michael in the background.
Yeah.
And they don't do that at all in this movie. I don't know. I kind of miss that.
I really did like how they filmed the whole killing spree, though, where they kind of had like the front of houses, and you can kind of see like him go in one and then back and go in another.
I think that was probably the best cinematography wise. That was the best filmed.
Yeah. They had other things going for them. It was actually fall.
It was.
They didn't have to paint leaves or anything like that.
Yeah, and were they? I don't think they filmed it in Pasadena. They did. I think they actually filmed it, where fall exists.
I actually don't know where they filmed it. To be honest with you, for some reason I forgot to look that up. But I think you're right. Another choice that they had, and I kind of put this under how it was filmed, is the way the gore is filmed in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the first movie, not a lot of gore.
Mm-hmm.
The second movie, lots of gore.
Yeah.
And then this version, I think it kind of falls in the middle.
Yeah, it does.
And I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want them to have to put in gore to draw an audience.
It's not Rob Zombie gore.
It is not Rob Zombie gore. It's not torture porn.
Yeah.
It leaves out all of that gratuitous violence,
mm-hmm.
which I don't think you needed, because Michael isn't about killing people in the most disgusting way. He's about just killing somebody, moving on to go to the next person.
Right.
So I thought it was fitting. But they did show more gore than the original. And I think that's just a product of keeping up with the times, a product
mm-hmm.
of where horror's going and things like that.
Well, I also think that back then they didn't really have the budget to have the gore anyways.
Yeah, I think you're right too.
So I think that if John Carpenter had the budget that he wanted, it would be very similar to this movie.
Yeah, you could be right. No, we'll never know.
We will never know. But I think that Halloween is still perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah. And I really do like the idea of a Michael Myers character. He is becoming one of my favorite horror movie villains.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I have for music and cinematography.
Me too.
I just had two last things. There were throwbacks that I didn't really talk about. No, I'm sorry, we talked about one. I was trying to talk about the babysitter murders. There's one thing that we didn't talk about. I don't
mm-hmm.
think so. Did we talk about Laurie's hat?
No. Well, we alluded to it.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'll let you handle that.
Laurie has a hat in the original film that she never wears it or anything. It's just on her wall in her house. And somebody kept that prop for 40 years. And it's still on her house on the wall. It's the same like farmer's like sun hat or something.
Yeah.
And it's just the same hat and it's just there. It's just in the background.
Yeah, it's got to be a Richard Wright thing.
Yeah.
Production designer. It's got to be him. I did like, another thing I want to mention just really quick. I liked how Laurie's house, again, I like the design, but it also seemed like when she had all these traps and things like that,
mm-hmm.
it had almost this Saw feel to it.
Kind of did.
Where the way things were rustic
mm-hmm.
and dirty, and there was like kind of these traps and things everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I like. I don't know if they were influenced by any of that.
And one other thing is that Laurie has a dollhouse in her house,
right? Yeah,
and it's a replica of the Myers house.
And they show it burning down.
Yeah.
At the end.
Did we talk about the breathing at the end credits?
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, that's all I have.
That's all I have too.
And then we want to talk about things we didn't like, things we liked. I know we covered a lot of that.
We did cover a lot of things we didn't like.
But overall,
I really did enjoy the film. I thought it was a lot of fan service
mm-hmm.
that really made me feel nostalgic for the original film.
Yeah.
And I like that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with it. Again, I think that some of the characters were throwaways. Some
mm-hmm.
of the characters' motivations kind of came out of nowhere a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really enjoy the film. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. For me, I think there's a lot of lows and highs.
Yeah.
There's like, you would get these great moments like when Michael's going through the houses when he shows up at Haddonfield, and when Laurie's hunting him down at her house, and then you get this random twist from Sartain. It's like kind of stupid, and then you get this the teenage drama that's very unnecessary. So I think there's a lot of good things about it, and there's a lot of bad things about it, and they kind of just make an okay movie.
But I think this was a good attempt by David Green.
I do too.
And there is such a following with this, and with followings like this, you get people who are really nerdy and really passionate and detailed about everything, and he has to live with that fan base watching his movie.
Yeah.
And I think it was fairly well received.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a huge props to him and his crew.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he did it, He did it. That's what you can say. I think they held back a little too much, though, in the movie. Like, with kills, and I don't know. It felt like kind of contained in a way.
Maybe a little lackluster.
A little bit. It's just, like, almost to the point where I really like it, just a little bit below, Just for almost, like, every scene.
I definitely like this. I would put this like the original Halloween. I kind of do like 2. 3 is okay because it's unique.
Yeah.
And then I like H2O, and I would put this kind of close to on par with H2O. I don't know, maybe a little bit better than H2O.
I think I'd put it a little bit better than H2O just because it doesn't feel like Scream. I don't I like Scream, but I think Scream should be Scream.
Yeah. I
don't like that being thrown onto Halloween as well.
Yeah, and we'll get into that when we talk about H2O later. That's all I have for Halloween 2018.
That's all I have as well.
All right, well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, thanks for watching. You can find us on Twitter at horror_CV, where we'll be posting whatever. I don't know. We'll have announcements on like when our next podcast is out and like what movie we'll be doing next and whatnot.
Yeah. And spoilers, I'm pretty sure we're doing Halloween 2 next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Halloween 2 is next.
And then we're going to try to just burn through the franchise.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do that.
We have a lot more to go.
Please tell your friends and family and whatnot about us.
Yeah.
And give us any anything you have, comments, questions, concerns, anxieties, frustrations, contemplations, damnations, whatever.
Yeah.
Feel free to let us know on our Twitter.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
See ya.